Hello everyone, this is me, Dusty Circuit here, and this is just kind of a video I've been wanting to do but been putting off, and this is, I guess, an update just about how, well, for those of you who haven't watched all my previous computer related videos where I go over like changes I'm making to my computer setup, or like how it's how my computer setup is working for me, and just kind of me doing updates on that. Feel like times maybe for another one of those videos, because since the last one I have made a couple of changes. I've upgraded the RAM and the storage. Though I don't really have anything. I don't have anything else really to report on that front. So, but as for how those happened is, but we've on Christmas of last year, I I wanted to get something for my computer, but I did not have the budget for something like a new graphics card. So I decided to go for the RAM at first, which basically I just got another. I just bought the same basically another kit of the same RAM that I had currently or before, and I just put it in the other two RAM slots, and then that bumped it up from 32 gigs to 64 gigs. And I very rarely use all of my RAM now, but before that, like, I'd look in Task Manager, and even in under moderate usage, say I'd have Minecraft open, my web browser open, and Discord open. Already I'd see my RAM get to 40 or 50% used. And I mean, while that's would have been fine for me for a while, I decided that, well, under that load, my CPU barely even breaks 20%. And when I'm doing even when I'm doing that workload. So I'm thinking, well, if my RAM is the limiting factor to how many applications I can run on my computer at once, and not my CPU, like if my RAM is that limiting factor, maybe that should be something I should upgrade. And that's really what I did. And I now have four RGB RAM modules with lights on in my case. Though the way I have to situate my computer, I can't see into my clear side window. But hey, maybe someday when we move house, or I get a new desk, I might be able to orient my computer so the cleared side window faces where I can see it, but it's just kind of how it is for right now. And then I thought that was going to be all I was going to do for a while, but, well, upgrade wise. But then one of my skate friends decided to give me a $100 Amazon gift card for Christmas. And I was like, wow, that's awfully nice of them. And in fact, if they didn't tell me what they were going to give me, they wanted it to be a surprise. And I don't blame them there. And, so, so now that I have, no, so now that I had that money given to me, I, was thinking about what I should do with that. And then the thought came to me, well, I've always wanted more, I'd always wanted a bigger SSD, as, I've gotten to the point with my 1 terabyte SSD that I've been having to uninstall some games and delete a few things just to keep the amount of its capacity I'm using below 80%. And well, a lot of people don't know about this, but from a lot of sources I've read about and a few tech YouTubers I've heard, SSDs actually kind of need some space to be free in order to, from my understanding, in order to, like, for wear leveling of the the cells, and for and also if and also they use some of the SSD, like some of the actual storage on the SSD is used for cache purposes, and thus filling it above 80%, you'll start to lose performance, or you'll lose some of the read and write speed. And it's also not great for longevity either. So basically, I've just been heeding that advice and keeping my SSDs not filled to their capacity. And so, but that means that, like, basically only 80% of my 1 terabytes of storage I really was allowed to be using. So that kind of, like, that basically kind of left me with little, maybe like 100, maybe 200 gigabytes of space before, like, I'd reach that threshold. So with that in mind, I've been considering getting a bigger SSD, and this gift card that one of my friends gave me was presented probably one of the best opportunities for me to do this. And so I found that, like, I could buy the one SSD that I was considering, like, at this time would run me around $170. So it was $180 when I first looked at it, but I think the price dropped by $10 by the time I was about to buy it. And while the $100 gift card couldn't pay for this on its own, what I could do is wait for my next my next Social Security income check and pay for this using both the gift card and my money in my bank account. which would mean that a $180 purchase would, at least to me, be more like a $80 purchase. And that's basically what I did. And the SSD that I purchased is the Team Group MP34 4 terabyte M.2 NVMe. And I went with this drive in particular because I've heard of this SSD actually has features a DRAM cache, where my previous drive didn't have that. And I've heard from a lot of tech YouTubers that makes a world, having a DRAM buffer on your SSD makes a world of difference when it comes to just overall how fast your computer is to. I think it mostly affects the write speeds, but I could be wrong. But just from what I've heard, it really speeds up your SSD a lot. And I've even heard some say that you're crazy if you're just using a DRAM-less SSD, because you don't know what you're missing out on. And, well, my first two SSDs that I've been using from what I can tell, didn't have DRAM buffers, and coming from a mechanical hard drive, those felt like night and day. But moving to this SSD, I haven't really noticed a whole lot of speed improvements. And I think the reason, and also when I do game updates, like, those don't seem to go really any faster than on the old SSD, and I think the reason for that is just we don't have really fast internet. I mean, it is decent, I would say, but it's like it's not like we're getting a gigabits per second download. It's like our internet is at least from all the speed tests I've been doing, we average about 60 megabits per second downloading and 20 megabits per second uploading. But for a while, for a long time, but the upload speed was more like 12 megabytes per second. But recently we got a new modem from our internet service provider, and at the very least that doubled our upload speed, which as a YouTuber I really appreciate, because with the amount of uploading that I've been doing to my YouTube channel, that makes a world of difference. Like having videos upload twice as fast as they used to be able to. So yeah. But as for but yeah, and but I'm still glad I got this SSD, because right now I believe I'm using I'm currently using 800 gigabytes on that SSD, and I still have about three more terabytes left of free space. Though that number might be a little less if I don't fill this drive beyond 80%. But still, that is a lot of free space. And I mean, I think it's more than enough to install my entire Steam and Epic Games libraries if I wanted to. Oh no, and one other thing, I talked about this mostly on these Skate Discord tech channels, but one of my monitors actually recently stopped working. Well, it didn't stop working. I tried to fix it and broke it. So what happened was basically the power button, after like a while of using the monitor, it just started to get a little sticky. It's like you press it and it doesn't really want to click anymore, but it's still, if you press it hard enough, the monitor still turns on. And this just kind of had me concerned, like, because it's like every time I'm gonna press that button now, that's going to, like, it's just gonna put more wear and tear on that button, and it's just going to, probably some point in the near future, it's going to break. And that's actually what happened to, we actually had another monitor just like that monitor in our family for a while, and after many years of usage, that monitor's power button also broke. And in my infinite wisdom, I decided to take that monitor apart just to maybe investigate why the power button was binding up and maybe see if I can try to do anything about it. But unfortunately, in the process, I managed to crack the LCD screen. So I was trying to I was using a butter knife to try to separate the bezel from the rest of the monitor, and I have taken other monitors apart this way before and caused no damage, but unfortunately, I guess I managed to get the blade of the knife in between the frame and in between the metal around the actual LCD screen module itself, and then when I pried up, it just cracked the screen and basically rendered that monitor a paperweight. So at that point, I'm like, crap, I guess I'm gonna have to buy a new monitor now. And so that's really what I did. I mean, I could have bought a used monitor, but I kind of actually like to have a new monitor, just to have the new display technology, and also being a new monitor, it'll use less electricity as well. And I mean, I could also save power just by, well, I could save electricity by just like turning off my computer when I'm not using it. It's just, I thought, well, why not eliminate some of the power usage from the monitor? And so really, I just got a $100 1080p 24-inch widescreen monitor. I mean, there isn't much fancy about it, and it's kind of an off-brand. And the specs are just really 1080p and 75 hertz, and it's a 24-inch 16:9 screen. Really like my main monitor is. Only it's not curved. And really that's kind of all I need for my second monitor. Well, I mean, it would be nice to have identical monitors. I just don't have the budget for that. So, like I'm okay with like going with a more basic monitor for my second monitor and my third monitor if and when I go to if and when I go to 3 monitors again. And yeah, for about a few months I did have 3 monitors, but I don't have the desk space for 3 monitors, so I just had I had to put my third monitor on my dresser where my lamp and alarm clock are right now, and it was not really an ideal setup because in order to see my third monitor, I would have to turn my head like almost like 70 degrees just to see just to see the third monitor, but I guess it was better than not having 3 monitors. And and the reason that only lasted a few months was one of my monitors died, and so I just had to fall back to using 2 monitors for a while. And I guess before I guess there's one more thing. So when I first assembled my computer with my current parts and my current motherboard, uh, with my Ryzen 9 CPU, uh, I ended up making a mistake where so when I plugged in my case fans, I I don't know how I made this mistake, but when I went to plug in my case fans, I plugged 3 of my case fans into a header that on the motherboard that looks like a fan header, but it's for when you're running an AIO. That's where you plug the pump into. And reason I'm saying I don't know how I made that mistake was my previous motherboard had that header, but on that motherboard I plugged my fans into the right header, but on this one for whatever reason I plugged them into that header. And but this mistake is easy to make because the one of the fan headers is right next to that header. So you have what look like 2 fan headers next to each other, but in reality, the one of the headers is for an AIO pump. So, but what that would do for fans is basically the fans would run at full speed all the time. And so when I was talking about if you go back to my video, the first video I made about my computer, about my current computer, like when I first bought that CPU and that motherboard, and I was talking about, well, the fans seem a little noisy, and at first I just chalked that up to, well, the CPU runs hotter, I guess the fans must need to spin faster. But it turns out that isn't actually the case. It's because I was a dum-dum and plugged the fans into the wrong header. And it's just one day, I thought little of this. Like I didn't even know I didn't even know I plugged them into the wrong header until one day when I was opening up my computer to clean it, and I just took a glance at my motherboard, and I was like, huh, like, huh, I have my fans plugged into this port, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So, and then I just briefly looked in my motherboard manual just to sanity check, and I'm like, oh, uh, I have them plugged in the wrong header. So I fixed that. I just unplugged that and then moved it over to the then moved that over and plugged it into the header to the left. I believe it was, and then I turn on my computer and let's just say it's a lot quieter now. It's actually it's like before, like the fan, like you could always like the fans were not terribly noisy, but at all times the computer would you'd hear the fans going. But now, like when the computer's just idle and it's not doing really anything, it's almost silent. You don't hear really hardly any noise from my computer at all now. Though there's still the whole fans like ramping up thing, like whenever I'm like loading games or loading applications, you can slightly notice the fans slightly ramping up, but it's not that extreme. It's just a little bit noticeable. And I've just kind of been living with that, but maybe at some point in the future I might play around with fan curves and like trying to make a fan curve that's not like as harsh. So like as of interest to reduce noise. And maybe at some point in the future I'll play around with that. But the one thing, so when I had changed my fans to the fan header, I had noticed that I had noticed immediately one of my case fans was making really rather bad bearing noise, and so really what I opted to do was I actually happened to have one spare uh so I happened to have one spare case fan like from that pack of 5 fans I bought along a little while ago that I haven't used yet. So like that like when I bought those fans back when I had the first computer that I built myself. Like from those hand-me-down parts. If you've seen my series of all the computers I've owned, it's the fourth computer I talked about in that series. Like at kind of towards the end of my usage of that computer, I bought a box of 40 millimeter I think they're Arctic P14s. And yeah. So basically, oh, and also how I was able to hook 3 fans up to one fan header is they're daisy chainable. So like you can plug one. It's like each fan has the plug to plug it into the motherboard, but then there's also like another wire kind of off of that one that goes into a female fan header, so you can plug another fan into that. So I had 3 case fans connected to one fan port that way, and then I noted, I'm guessing just because they from them running at full speed for several months, I guess that wore them out, and the fans, like one of the fans was had pretty bad, pretty loud bearing noise, and so I swapped it out for one of the spares that I had on hand. Like that was the one fan that I was not using from that pack, and then that cleared that up. But then I noticed the other of those 2 fans was exhibiting bearing noise, though not quite as bad as the other fan, though I ended up just kind of putting up with that for a while, but at one point I ended up unplugging that fan just to clear up that noise, and then by my next check, I decided to purchase 2 more of those fans from Amazon. And I was thinking about even going the RGB route, because there are RGB versions of those fans, but then again, I didn't really want to spend like $50 on fans, and also I wasn't entirely sure like an ARGB fan would actually play nicely with iCUE. And I've realized, like, so I'm actually kind of so when I got my RGB fans, I've kind of realized that, like, my motherboard has one ARGB fan port, and at the time I guess I just wasn't familiar with how that worked, and but from research I've found, I can basically I could have I basically could have just gotten a bunch of ARGB fans, and then daisy chain the RGB wire to get together, and then basically I'd have RGB fans without the need for the Corsair RGB controller that I have with the Corsair fans, and then I could also have RGB for cheaper, because those Corsair RGB fans are not cheap. Like, I think for 2 of them plus the controller, like, it was like $70. But I don't know, I'm kind of at a point where I don't think I should add more RGB to my computer, because it is, for one thing, it isn't cheap, and according to some people, it uses unnecessary electricity, and I've heard some skaters even going as far as to turning off the RGB lights in their computers just to save the little bit of electricity that they do use, because I guess electricity that they live where electricity is really expensive. But for me, that just isn't really much of a consideration, because I don't live in Europe, and from my understanding, we're not paying like European electricity prices, but electricity is going up now. So maybe in the future it might be advisable to, to maybe do something about my electricity usage. But anywho, I guess that's really all the updates I have to give about my computer. And also about those fans, I opted to buy 2 of them because I think my thought was, oh, I could have one spare on hand, but then I decided to replace another fan that I had in the bottom of my case. Not necessarily because it needed it, but I just thought, why not? Why I have a brand new fan to replace a kind of older fan with that might possibly in the near future might start getting noisy, so I just decided to do that. And my computer's quiet again, yay. But this computer's really holding up quite well. I like, if you've heard me talk about in my computer series, I've talked about like all of my computers, like they'd have some kind of problems that would require me to replace components. But apart from the fans, I haven't really had to replace anything in this computer. And I'm really happy with that Corsair power supply that I bought for my previous computer, because that unit is still going strong. And so I'm really glad I bought that power supply, because I've had a lot of power supplies go bad. Like either because of the fan going bad, or I think in one case I had one unit literally pop and stop powering my computer. But I'm happy this power supply is holding up, is holding up. And I'd expect it to hold up for many more years to come. I'm probably gonna be, if as far as I'm aware, it's probably gonna last me until I'll need to upgrade it, because I acquire a really high-powered GPU in the future. But anyway, that's all I really have to talk about, and my computers really have been serving me well, and it's definitely giving me a premium computer experience. I can tell you that. And it's just kind of amazing how just 4 or 5 years ago I didn't have I didn't have a good computer really at all. Well, I guess it was decent for that time, but it's just this computer, just like that computer I had 5 years ago, pales in comparison to this computer. And even though it's frankly kind of overkill for what I mostly do day to day, overkill is a lot nicer to have than not good enough. And I've been in that boat for most of my life, and it's also nice, and it's nice to be in the position where your computer just isn't holding you back. It's just, you can do, I can pretty much play every game I own in my Steam library and then some, really, with the exception of, I mean the really new, the really hot new AAA games are gonna be a bit of a struggle for my graphics card, or at least from what I've been seeing benchmark videos of. But really everything else, like every game made in the last couple of years, or even the last 5 years, or even games from earlier. Like pretty much every game under the sun, except for the AAA games made in the last year or so, I can pretty much run on my computer. Which is and I have the power, I even have the computer power to do serious video editing, 3D modeling and rendering if I want to get into that in the future, and also live streaming. And I also have better internet to boot. So oh, and one more thing is also for Christmas, I got a little bit of a surprise in the mail. Actually, a complete surprise. Nobody even told me they're gonna send me a gift, but lo and behold, my mom hands me a package, and I open it up, and it's it's a gift that someone ordered on Amazon for me, like even in the gift wrapping and everything. And I open it up, and it's a Stream Deck, an Elgato Stream Deck Mark II, and it's the standard size Stream Deck with 16, but I think with 15 buttons. And to this day, I don't know who it was who sent it to me, but I'm really happy they did. It's really it's really kind of a new thing for me, and it's a nice thing to have, because I mean, it's something I've kind of been living without, and it's one of those things that if you don't have it, until you get one, you don't really know what you're missing. And now that I have this, it's really it's like I'm actually thinking to myself, like, why didn't I get this sooner? Well, I know why. I don't have I don't have lots of money to spend, and I believe the one that was given to me, I think, is about $150 new. And well, for $150 you can get a fancy basically a mini keyboard with buttons that can with embedded LCD buttons that you can display any icon you want, and you can configure to do any function you want. And yeah. And right now, for me, it just serves the purpose of being right now, I just have a few shortcuts assigned to it, and for different, I have a page on it for desktop applications, a page for OBS functions, a page for DaVinci Resolve functions, and a few other things. Oh, and also a page for Discord functions. But it is kind of a nice thing to have, and a nice addition to my computer setup. But yeah, that's all I have to talk about for today, and thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, remember to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you want to see my next videos, be sure to hit that bell for notifications. And peace out. Bye.